Hello, welcome back to the channel for this new video. It's been a while since the last video because I've been playing Cyberpunk, and most of the time I spent playing Cyberpunk, I spent trying to romance Wakako. Well, I was trying to find a way to romance Wakako. And then when I divested from Cyberpunk, I decided to play Dyson Sphere Program again. I've had this game since 2020 and I've not learned the lesson that it's a Chinese psyop to destroy my productivity. So anyways, I wouldn't go too deep into it because the original cut of this video was 22 minutes long. So now I'm just going to talk about light tanks and how good they are at the current meta. Yeah, I'm sorry, this is not another chats video. I'm not gonna promise anything anymore. I'm just gonna say it happens when it happens, okay? My productivity is on the floor because of Dyson Sphere Program and, you know. And because my productivity is on the floor, this video is loosely scripted. Instead of typing out everything I want to say, I'm just reading off talking points and speaking freely. This allows me to cut down on what I have to say to fit the time and put out my thoughts in a very authentic way because I like to editorialize myself when I type scripts. So maybe this way this comes off more genuine, I guess, instead of like I'm talking from an armchair when I do scripts. So anyways, let's get on with the video. You just judge it for yourself. Light tanks. War Thunder is a light tanks meta. It's pretty good right now. And why is it really good? Why is there a light tank meta anyway? It's because this game rewards good gameplay, active gameplay. Passive gameplay isn't very much so rewarded. Well, not really passive because there are mechanics that allow light tanks to be super passive and they still get rewarded. I'll talk about that later. Light tanks are a meta in War Thunder because they're the easiest way to do well for the minimum amount of work. And why are there easy ways to do well in a light tank? First off, let's talk about good light tanks and bad light tanks. Good light tanks, no trouble doing well in them. You don't have to work hard to do well in them, you just simply do. But there are bad light tanks that suffer twice as hard as maybe a medium tank or a heavy tank when you try to play them. I'll talk about those later. So, what makes a good light tank and what makes a bad light tank? There are two categories, each with two factors that make light tanks what they are. It's mobility and firepower for the discrete factor, and the soft factors like the mechanics that Gaijin gives light tanks. Let's start with mobility and firepower. It's called the discrete factor in judging tanks because it's the most concrete metric for a tank's effectiveness. For example, the TWS-25M will always have a 125mm gun, it will always have this sort of mobility, will always be auto-loaded, and so on and so forth. These are the features of the tank itself. This is a good metric because it tells you how fast this tank will be, how hard this tank will hit, and it's basically the first and foremost judge of how good a tank can be. You can have good mobility with a mid firepower on light tanks and they will still come out good. For example, the Type 87 RCV. It started at 8.3, now it's 9.0 simply because it's got good mobility and despite the 25mm gun not having a stabilizer, it's still put in the same BR as the Italian one with a stabilizer and thermals. Then, what makes a bad light tank is terrible mobility and terrible firepower, which makes them struggle twice as much. An example of that would be the Puma. Because of the ERA on it, it moves so slow, and the 30 mm has a slow fire rate. So all in all, it just it just makes for a more effort to put in, I guess, more struggle to do well in a Puma. Another one regarding firepower is that some light tanks are given ATGMs of increasing quality. A good example of this is the BMP-1, which I consider a terrible light tank, while the ZBD-86 is a pretty decent light tank. This is because the BMP-1 gets the Malyutka. The ZBD-86 gets the HG-73, the Chinese Malyutka. They're the same stock. But when you upgrade the BMP-1 to the BMP-1P, you get the Conkers, 500 mil of pen. And now it's SACLOS, no longer M-close like the Malyutka. But you get a huge ATGM launcher on top. Meanwhile, the ZBD-86, you get the same Malyutka launcher, but the HJ-73E is now SACLOS, and you have a tandem ATGM warhead with 800 mils of pen. You don't get the higher profile, and you still get the better missile. Bad firepower and bad mobility is what kills light tanks. Take the HSCVL. 76mm APFSDS is notorious for not spalling, especially at top tiers where you have the Russian Magic sidearm. Then it just has the M1 Abrams engine, so it's slow to accelerate, but it has good top speed. I mean, there's a good top speed, but you take quite a while to get up to it. There's the Puma. Terrible acceleration, higher PWR, so don't let the PWR numbers fool you, because the Puma has like 26 something power to weight ratio, while the Centauro has only like 22. So it's not a concrete metric. That's what I'm trying to say. Then there's just the Nammer 30. You get the Merkava mobility without the Merkava gun. So now let's go to the soft factors. I'd like to call these soft factors the legal cheats, or the Gaijin legal cheats, because these are features that give a player an advantage over another player. But it's not like it's a feature on the tank whatsoever. It's like if the tank has an APS and it takes out your ATGM, that's not cheating. That's what the tank has, that's fair. It's built within the tank. But these ones are Gaijin gave that to the tank. Take the UAV for example. UAV allows you to see the battlefield in front of you without leaving your cover. That's pretty good. Medium tanks can't do that. Heavy tanks can't do that. Already can't do that. They're the SPGs, I mean. They have to advance, move forward, risk getting shot to see what's ahead of them. And on top of that, you could also mark targets for your enemies. And this one's another doozy. At some point, I think last month or the other month, you were able to spot enemies that weren't in your line of sight. You could spot behind cover as long as the UAV was looking at it. It's kind of broken, right? And now there's still the airstrike feature when it comes to spotting. Sure, spotting already marks the enemy for your team, but as if that's not enough, if your team kills it, you get a discount on spawn points. There's no cap to it. You can have 90 SBSU 30 SMs with KH-38 MTs. They're basically free spawns at this point, and you can do it passively. All you have to do is look at something, spot it, get the assist, and you can spawn an SU-30SM without any stringent efforts. Then there's also the maps. There are maps that have devastating flanks, like Poland or Hertgen, as you see in this video, and maps that don't have actual wide flanks still have good positions, like 38th Parallel and Sansa Sinai, back when it still had that weird sniping ridge. But still, you can have good spots in Sansa Sinai as long as you're the faster vehicle. I think I used to do flanks with the Hellcat on Sansa Sinai by just rushing in between C and B and then just shooting people trying to move into the gap. There's plenty of ways to minimize risk in light tanks compared to mediums and heavies. With medium tanks, you risk getting shot, you risk getting hit. There's no way for you to tell other than probably engine noise, but it's not like light tanks can't hear engine noise as well to see if there are tanks ahead of you. So now let me ask you, is it a problem? Is light tanks a problem? I'm gonna say yes and no. Yes, because the game allows you to farm passively spawn point discounts so you can spawn in the broken cast planes of each nation. Like I said with the SU-30 and the KH-38MT. But the problem isn't in the mechanics themselves, but rather the consequences of the mechanics. UAV is already crazy good. It's essentially a free wall hack for you and your squad. If you have a good coordinating squad, one guy on a UAV can do massive damage. But you don't even need to have a squad to do well in a UAV. The picture-in-picture, it allows you to do risk assessment while on the go. If you can see what the UAV is seeing when it's ahead of you, it's pretty much handing an easy time for you. I have no solution with regards to UAV being a good spotting tool with minimal risk, but the SP mechanic is pretty much a simple fix. Just add minimum values for cast spawn point requirements. For example, and this is only an example, we still have to argue about whether this minimum value is good enough or not. Just for example, the minimum should be 450 spawn points for a plane with guided missiles after so many spotting assists, or 500 SP in increasing intervals. Let's say 450 SP minimum, 900 SP in your second spawn, and so on and so forth. But they should keep the attacker, fighter, helicopter feature where it doesn't increase the other vehicle type spawn points, because that just encourages you grinding all types of vehicles in the game. So, what now? Light tanks are very lucrative, and it's a pretty good time to play it. There's no signs of decline when it comes to light tanks in the future. And what's worse is that there are more light tanks for nations that are surely on the way. But anyway, thank you for watching. See you next time. Whatever video that may be. I'm not promising anything anymore because I cannot trust myself to focus on one video. I just do what I want, when I want. And I'm sorry for that. But as always, Godspeed.